10 years ago, the granola hippies were on the left and the corporate GMO Monsanto defenders were on the right. Today, that has flipped. 10 years ago, the anti-vaxxers were on the left and the jab-happy expert trusters were on the right. Today, that has flipped. The flip has happened on so many other issues. Workers' rights. Used to be Dems were the party of workers, and now it's flipped. Family policy. War and peace. It's all flipped. And yesterday, it happened with yet another issue. 10 years ago, and still 10 months ago even, Republicans were the party sounding the alarm on Jeffrey Epstein, and Democrats were covering it up. Yesterday, Democrats voted to release the Epstein files, and Republicans broadly voted against it. Why the flip? We'll get into it. I'm Michael Knowles. This is the Michael Knowles Show. Welcome back to the show. You remember when we were told that the Epstein jail cell didn't have any cameras outside, or it did have cameras, but the cameras went out, so we didn't have any video footage. And then we were told we did have video footage, and they released the video footage. But then we found out there was a minute missing there. Well, now there's a new report out of Wired. Looks like there's more than a minute missing of that footage. What happened in that minute? We'll get into that momentarily. First, I want to tell you about Birch Gold. Text Knowles, Knowles, to 989898. You know, there's a lot of great stuff going on in public finances. The economy's doing well. The panic cans are totally destroyed. Things are looking up. However, what's going on with your personal finances, okay? You have got to take control of your personal finances, and that is why tens of thousands of Americans are buying gold right now from Birch Gold. Here are the facts. In the past 12 months, the value of gold has increased by 40%. Central banks continue to bolster demand for gold by buying in record quantities. Global instability and tension is the highest in decades, but you can find peace of mind in gold. Birch Gold makes it extremely easy to convert an existing IRA or 401k into a tax-sheltered IRA in physical gold, or just buy some to store at home. Text my name, Knowles, Knowles, to 989898. Birch Gold will send you a free info kit on gold. There's no obligation, only useful information. With an A+ rating with the Better Business Bureau, tens of thousands of happy customers, it is time for you to take control of your savings. Text Knowles, Knowles, to 989898 today. There are a lot of flips. There are a lot of flips that happen in politics. This is not actually all that unusual. Do you remember, you probably won't remember, in the early days of COVID, how the Democrats and Republicans were talking about it? Because it came to be that Republicans didn't really believe in COVID at all, or at least any of the dumb mandates that came out of COVID. And the Dems had 17 face masks on inside a spacesuit while they were 3 miles away from anybody. You remember that? Well, in the early days of COVID, it was the opposite. It was the conservatives who were sounding the alarm. And it was the Democrats who were saying, don't worry. Actually, if you are worried about COVID, you're xenophobic. You might be racist. Nancy Pelosi was saying, come on down to Chinatown. Come on down to Chinatown. And then it flipped. I think it was internationally, you could see this in different countries. I remember Israel in particular, it was the right-wing party that was very cautious about COVID. It was the more liberal groups that were loose about COVID. These things flip. Okay, so what's going on here? What's going on here is, in politics, we take cues from our enemies. So when our opponents are doing something, just as a rule of thumb, because it's usually reliable, we do the opposite. So for most of the Epstein saga, it has been the Democrats who are trying to play it down, cover it up, get people to move along. It's been Republicans sounding the alarm because Epstein was connected to everybody, but he seemed to be more connected to prominent liberal figures than he was to conservative figures. Yes, Epstein was a member of the Mar-a-Lago Club before Donald Trump kicked him out. But he was also buddies with Bill Clinton and Bill Gates and the liberal prime minister of Israel, not even the conservative prime minister, the liberal prime minister of Israel. And he was friends with liberal lawyers and some conservative lawyers, but he was friends with Stephen Hawking and he was friends with liberal universities in Harvard and MIT. And he was more kind of a lib guy, it seemed like. Hollywood celebrities. And so it was the conservatives who were saying, this is a cover-up. This is the Clintons are trying to cover this up. In the early days, the joke was that Hillary Clinton was the one who went in there into the jail cell. And then something flipped. The moment that the Trump administration said, hey, we're not going to release everything, or we're going to release a lot of stuff, but there's really not a list, and we're not going to follow this, and we've come to the conclusion that this wasn't backed by any state actors or whatever. The minute that the administration signaled that, the Democrats took that as a signal to say, okay, well, now we're going to be the pro-Epstein disclosure people. And that's what happened. So there was a vote on the House Rules Committee over whether or not to release all the Epstein files. And it was the Democrats who voted for it. It was the Democrats with, I think, one Republican or something that voted for it. Now that failed, you've got Ro Khanna, huge Lib Dem in the Congress, and Thomas Massie, the Libertarian in the Congress, who's made an enemy of Donald Trump. So now Trump is threatening to primary him, and Massie is saying, no, I'm standing firm on libertarian principle. It's Massie teaming up with the Democrats, proposing a bill to fully release the Epstein files, a plan that is supported by a lot of the MAGA base. All very, very confusing. What does Massie say? He says, we all deserve to know what's in the Epstein files, who's implicated, and how deep this corruption goes. Now, I want to correct something here. As I've said from the beginning, there's obviously much, much more to the Epstein story. It's not simply the case that this man was a rich pervert and he was friends with the most powerful people in the world, and those two facts have nothing to do with each other. I don't buy that for 1 second. There's obviously much more to the story, and the government, for whatever reason, is not releasing it. However, I guess I differ from everyone in that I believe that the government can, in principle, have many good reasons not to disclose everything. I don't believe in radical transparency. I do think that the government has to exercise judgment, and for all sorts of reasons, for reasons of avoiding defamation, for reasons of justice, for reasons of maintaining the global order, sometimes the government needs to conceal certain things. That's why we have classified designations. That's why we have top secret designations. That's why we elect representatives, not just to do exactly what we say and to tell us everything, but to exercise their judgment. So I actually disagree with Thomas Massie in principle here when he says we all deserve to know what's in the Epstein files. We don't deserve to know what's in the Epstein files. You don't deserve to know all manner of classified and otherwise clandestine information. What we deserve from our civil authority is justice. That's what I want from the Epstein situation. I don't need you to release every hidden document. I don't need you to tell me everything about JFK or everything about any other government operation. That's not my role as a private citizen. I want justice. And I think that's what most people want here. Okay, I'm a plan truster, all right? Donald Trump's the best president of my lifetime. I think I broadly trust him to carry out the functions of the executive branch. And so if there is some reason, I've said from the beginning, I strongly suspect Trump is more frustrated than anyone that this issue keeps coming up and that he can't release all the files or whatever it is. But we need to believe that justice is being done. There can be perfectly good reasons not to be fully transparent. There frequently are. But we need to believe that justice is being done. And so I do trust Trump and the Trump administration to make the right decision here. But the White House needs to get that message right. I am not, the whole chorus of people who are, you'll notice, including a lot of Trump's enemies, a ton of Democrats and members of the Republican Party who hate Trump for personal reasons, maybe ideological reasons, who face political threats from Trump. They're all unifying right now to attack Trump over this. And my view is really quite different from their view. My view is the White House needs to get the message right to assure us that justice is being done. Justice, which is the only thing that the government really owes us. If we were going to have radical transparency, if we were going to see every single thing that goes on in government, we wouldn't really need a government. We would just have a kind of direct democracy, or I don't know, quasi-anarchy or something. Now, President Trump, as I alluded to earlier, is bemoaning the continued interest in the Epstein files. He was asked about this right in front of Marine One.
I know you've urged people to move on, but I'm curious, why do you think your supporters in particular have been so interested in the Epstein story?
I don't
and so
understand
upset about how it's been handled?
I don't understand it. Why they would be so interested. He's dead for a long time. He was never a big factor in terms of life. I don't understand what the interest or what the fascination is. I really don't. And the credible information's been given. Don't forget, we went through years of the Mueller witch hunt and all of the different things, the Steele dossier, which was all fake. All that information was fake. But I don't understand why the Jeffrey Epstein case would be of interest to anybody. It's pretty boring stuff. It's sordid, but it's boring. And I don't understand why it keeps going. I think really only pretty bad people, including fake news, want to keep something like that going. But credible information, let them give it. Anything that's credible, I would say, let them have it.
Everyone who's playing this clip today, everyone who's talking about this clip is only focusing on the first part. Trump wants to move on from Epstein. Trump is trying to get people to stop talking about Epstein. Trump is attacking people for talking about Epstein. You're missing the key to the whole clip, which comes right in at the 5 seconds at the end. We'll get to that in 1 second. First, I want to tell you about Jeremy's Razors. Go to jeremy'srazors.com/legend. Stop living like a myth. It's time to start shaving like a legend with Jeremy's Razors, the politically incorrect razor for men. Equipped with 5 barber-grade blades and a moisturizing aloe strip, Jeremy's razors are sharp enough for thick, beastly scruff, yet smooth enough for daily use. Hundreds of thousands of abominable beasts agree. Jeremy's Razors delivers barber-grade blades right in the palm of your hand. While other razors snap or treat you like garbage, Jeremy's offers a world-class shave without the shame. Try Jeremy's Razors today for only $7.99. They ship right to your man cave. And for every Jeremy's Razor sold, a lib loses his pronoun. If you're a man who urinates standing up, then head on over to jeremy'srazors.com/legend and subscribe today. jeremy'srazors.com/legend. Jeremy's Razors don't tame the beast. Just shave it. You catch that bit at the end there? He says, but look, anything that's credible, I want that to be released. So there you have it. This is an amazing message pivot. Once again, Trump kind of leading on it, and I think doing a better job than some of the other government departments. He's looking out. He's saying, okay, hold on. There, flips happen. Flips on COVID, flips on vaccines, flips on the food supply, flips on war and peace. We're seeing a flip happen right now where the Democrats are starting to own the Epstein disclosure issue, and Republicans don't want to totally disclose that. So I'm going to push that further and say, it's fake news that's so focused on Epstein. It's boring. I know about the Epstein stuff. It's boring. This is another hoax, like the Russia hoax. So you're seeing that messaging start to flip that may or may not persuade you. But then you saw there right at the end, there's a little pivot too. A pivot from, we're going to release all the files. Pam Bondi, I've got the client list on my desk. Then there was a flip to, actually, there is no client list, and we've released everything we're going to release. Now there's a pivot to, anything that's credible. Anything that's credible, I certainly think that should be released. What are you talking about? That's the middle ground. That's the thesis, antithesis, synthesis. There's where Trump is saying, look, there is a legitimate issue at stake here in the Epstein files, which is a lot of the allegations are unsubstantiated and unprosecuted, and you could be defaming innocent people. Even if Jeffrey Epstein is exactly what you think he is, he's an intelligence asset designed to get compromise on people and blackmail them and make them look bad, innocent people are going to be caught up in this. Alan Dershowitz, I don't care what, I like Alan Dershowitz a lot. Whatever you think about Alan Dershowitz, he's got plenty of enemies. That man was accused of sex crimes on Epstein Island, and he took it all the way. He took it to court. He pursued this for years, and his accuser dropped the accusation. So he followed. He said, I am wrongly accused. I think it was either my show or maybe I was guest hosting Ben's show years ago. Alan was on the show. We were talking about the impeachment of Trump. And he said, well, look, Trump's facing a false accusation, and a lot of people have. I have faced a false accusation. And he doggedly pursued that. And that could be the case for a number of people. So what Trump is saying is, whatever is credible, release that. Whatever is credible, that's fine. So you're saying, no, okay, what's credible here? And then maybe there will be more disclosures. That's how I read that. Trump is very good at giving himself opportunities, exit ramps, ways to make a deal. I see a lot of deal making there. Okay, last point on Epstein. we were told there's no jail video. Oh yeah, the camera's all cut out. Oopsie daisy, and the guards weren't there. And whoops, who crazy. But he killed himself, and we know you just have to take our word for it. But there's no cell footage. To another pivot, which is actually there is cell footage, and we're going to release all 10 hours of it. But then if you watch the 10 hours, you notice at one moment the camera cuts out. A minute is jumped in the tape, and the frame changes. We actually have it. So you see 58, 11, 58, and 54 seconds. 55, 56, 57, 58, 59. Okay, hold on. And then it jumps a minute to 12 a.m. And what's weird is the camera frame changes. So it's not even just that the numbers change at the bottom, it's that the whole frame of the camera changes. So there's 1 minute, it looks like 1 minute and 1 second missing. Well, Wired now has an analysis of the metadata from the footage, and it shows that actually about 3 minutes are missing. So metadata, according to Wired, metadata from the raw Epstein prison video shows approximately 2 minutes and 53 seconds were removed from one of 2 stitched together clips. The cut starts right at the missing minute. Yeah, of course. I mean, you don't need to be some tech genius to realize someone edited the video. And so it raises all of these issues. It would be easier to say move along, if you only had 1 or 2 weird things with the Epstein story. But you have, a guy who doesn't graduate college, who's a teacher at a prep school, goes on to be a zillionaire. How did he get his money? He's then friends with all the richest, most famous people in the world. Now, rich people are friends with other rich people and powerful people. But this guy seemed to be friends with like all of them. This was a little more concerted. I know plenty of rich people, and I know plenty of people in high political office. And this guy, Epstein, was on another level. How did he make all of those friends? And what did he do on that island? Why did he have all the cameras in all of the rooms of his townhouse and his island and his other properties? When he was prosecuted, how did he get that sweetheart deal where he basically got to treat the Palm Beach jail as though it were a hotel, come and go as he pleased? How did he get that deal? Why did Alex Acosta, when he was up for labor secretary, say that he was told as U.S. attorney in the Epstein case that Epstein was above his pay grade and that he belonged to intelligence? That's according to reporting from the Daily Beast that hasn't really been properly disputed. How did Epstein then die? Did he kill himself? Why did the cameras go out? Why were the guards not there? Come on, we're up to almost a dozen strange things here. Why was he spending so much time with heads of government, foreign heads of government? Why was he? Come on, you got to give me some answers to that. So again, there are 2 sides here, which is move along. Everything is concluded. There's nothing to see here. Nothing strange. Stop asking questions. And there is you need to release all of the files, and we need full transparency, and I need to see every document that's ever passed the government's desk regarding Jeffrey Epstein. Neither of those views is correct. The government can keep some info to itself. The government can pursue justice. Doesn't always have to broadcast everything like it's a social media influencer, okay? The government is not TikTok. But we need an explanation as to why the government is not going to release everything. And the reason we need that explanation is just to have confidence, as I do actually, because I am a plan truster, but the MAGA people who are making a big deal about this need to have confidence that the government is doing the right thing and that justice is being done. That's it. I'm inclined to believe that. But that's the question that remains. Trump does not need to give his enemies everything that they're demanding. But if the administration can just tip a hand a little bit to the supporters to say, hey, justice is being done. We're still the guys you voted for. We're the people you think we are. That I think is what's really called for here. Okay, now, speaking of not being the guys you think someone is, or maybe that you do think that they are, Conor McGregor. You know Conor McGregor, the boxer. He's in a little bit of hot water. Not revealing any private sins here because this story is being widely reported in the press. I actually ran into Conor McGregor. I had a nice little conversation with Conor McGregor about cigars at the impeachment. Conor McGregor is... I shouldn't laugh. It's not nice. He's in a little bit of trouble because he sent some naughty pictures to another celebrity lady named Azealia Banks. I've heard of her. I couldn't pick her out of a lineup, but there she is. There's a picture of her. There's Azealia Banks. So he sent some naughty pictures of her. And, I mentioned Conor McGregor's a weightlifter. He's, this is a family show, so I'll try to describe this in wholesome terms. Can you get the image off, please? Do I have to look? I don't want to look at that image. Can go back to Azealia Banks? Yeah, okay. He was working out and he tied a dumbbell not to an appendage and was apparently lifting the dumbbell with an appendage. So let's just leave it at that. And so anyway, he not only does that, that's a bit odd, then he takes a picture of that and then he sends it to some random woman named Azealia Banks. And I guess he threatens her in the text, says, you better not show this to anyone or whatever. And then Azealia Banks immediately posts it to social media. Says, who do you think I am? You don't threaten me. And I don't think Conor McGregor is married. I think he's engaged to be married, but I won't get too much into his personal life. But this is probably not a wise decision. And I think he would probably acknowledge that. And my interest in the whole story is just what would get a man to do this? Plenty of guys do it. It's not just him. I'm not just singling him out. Plenty of guys do. We all do stupid things like this when it comes, maybe not like that, but we all do stupid things when it comes to girls and when it comes to sex at some point in our lives. For most people, it's more you're a teenager in your 20s, but sometimes later on that happens. But what would get you to do that? That is very irrational behavior. I notice one thing too, with a lot of guys who cheat on their wives or their fiancés, or often the mistress is not as beautiful as the fiancé or the wife. It just doesn't, and the behavior is so bizarre and degrading and humiliating. Why do you do it? And it reminds me of that joke that Drew Clavin loves to tell. It's a great joke, but the guy, I'll do a truncated version of it. Guy walks into a bar. He's got an orange for a head. The bartender says, all right, you gotta tell me what happened. And the guy says, okay, yeah, sure. Well, I was walking on the beach. I found a genie lamp. I rubbed the genie lamp. A genie pops out, says you get 3 wishes. I said, I don't believe this. I said, okay, my first wish, I want to win. Oh, I want $1 million. Goes home, knock on the door. It's Ed McMahon with Publishers Clearinghouse. And it's a check for $1 million. He says, by golly, that's crazy. Then he goes back to the genie lamp. He says, all right, wish number 2. I want to sleep with every penthouse playmate. Or is that Playboy? Whatever. I want to sleep with a lot of hot chicks. And he goes back home, whatever, knock on the door. 12 girls from Playboy. They just walk right up to the boudoir. Okay. So the bartender says, okay, I understand. I get it. So then what happened? And the guy with the orange for head, he says, I think this is where I screwed up a little bit. Then I went back and I asked to have an orange for a head. And some people hate that joke. I don't know. Lisa doesn't like that joke. But the joke is about, they always say it's really funny when you explain jokes. The joke is about the perversity of the human heart. The joke is about how the thoughts of man's heart, the desires of man's heart, are wicked from the beginning. And so we do things that are just bad for us. We sabotage ourselves. We humiliate. We degrade ourselves. We allow our concupiscence and our desires to just fly away from our reason. And this is very sad. And then we're humiliated and we have really only ourselves to blame. All of that to say, Conor McGregor, he can be forgiven. He can receive absolution. He can confess his sins and seek his Redeemer and all that. Don't do this. Don't ever send. This is especially to the younger people who watch the show, the teenagers in the 20s, 30s. Don't ever send a nude photo of yourself to anyone ever under any circumstances. Can you do that? Can you promise me that? Are you listening right now? And I'm talking even to the 50-year-olds, because apparently people do that. Don't ever, under any circumstances, send a nude photo of yourself, in part or in whole, ever to anyone. Can you do that? Can you make me that promise? If you just follow that advice, you will avoid a lot of the pitfalls of modern erotic life. But just don't. Come on, guys. This should be common sense. But people want an orange for a head. Okay. Now, speaking of, wow, we got really interesting political news. Really good, that I think is very good news for Trump after a week of being harassed on the Epstein thing. Very, very good news for Trump. We'll get to that in 1 second. First, I want to tell you about Pure Talk. Go to puretalk.com/Knowles. If you're with Verizon, AT&T, or T-Mobile, you're overpaying for wireless, period. You're paying for thousands of retail stores you never go into. You're paying for unnecessary perks you never use. And you're paying a massive premium for what you think is superior 5G service. Guess what? Pure Talk uses the same 5G network on the same 5G towers. Now, I want you to just listen to what I said. I didn't say they use similar 5G networks on kind of similar towers. No, it's the same. There's one difference. The difference is they don't charge you for any of all that other garbage. Pure Talk gives you unlimited talk, text, and plenty of data for just $25 a month. $25. That is less than half the price of the big guys during a time when saving a buck really matters. I am a Pure Talk customer. I absolutely love it. It's super easy to switch, first of all. You can keep your phone, you can keep your number, or you can get a phone from them. They're great. You can get a number from them. They're great. The customer service is fabulous. The service is incredible. You can even take it overseas if you happen to be traveling for the summer. Go to puretalk.com/Knowles, Canada WLES. Save an additional 50% off your first month. You can switch over to Pure Talk in less than 10 minutes. puretalk.com/Knowles to switch to Pure Talk wireless by Americans for Americans. There's a race for governor of Florida. We only focus on national politics. We're so obsessed with that. People used to focus on local politics. Now we're more obsessed with national politics. But there's a race for governor of Florida open. Byron Donalds is running. Very prominent congressman. Very MAGA, very pro-Trump. He's running. He has Trump's endorsement. There's some rumors that Governor DeSantis' wife, Casey, might run for that seat. There's some other people who want to run too. What's the polling look like right now? There's a poll out of St. Pete Polls for Florida Politics, which shows that if the field for governor were to include Byron Donalds, Casey DeSantis, Agriculture Commissioner Wilton Simpson, and former House Speaker Paul Renner, right now, Byron Donalds is leading the pack, not even close. Byron Donalds gets 35% of the vote. He's running a full 8 points ahead of Casey DeSantis, the first lady of the very popular, very successful governor of Florida, Ron DeSantis. And those two are way ahead of Simpson, got 3%, Renner has 2%. But look, could Casey DeSantis close the gap if she runs? Sure. I guess in principle she could, but that's a big gap really early on. There's no concern that Casey DeSantis doesn't have name ID. She's got plenty of name ID. There's no concern that she's got to introduce her family to politics. Everyone knows her family and everyone likes her family. And DeSantis is a really successful, good governor. There's really not much bad you can say about him other than he may have miscalculated running for president. But otherwise, he's very good. He's very popular. And the Trump-endorsed congressman is running away with the nomination. Running away with the election. The conclusion here is Trump runs the GOP, period. Period. Even today, everyone predicts Trump's demise. I think the reports of Trump's political death are exaggerated and have been for a long time. The only rival that Trump had in the 2024 presidential primary, the only rival who really didn't put up much of a threat, was Ron DeSantis in Florida, who did every freaking thing right other than challenge Trump. And Trump can endorse a member of Congress from Florida, and that guy will be leaps and bounds ahead of anyone else. Trump runs the GOP today, period. No one else does. It's not Governor DeSantis. It's not Congressman Massey. It's not some member of the Trump administration. It's not some operative. It's not some talking head. It's Donald John Trump for now. This creates a little bit of a problem down the road because it is this guy. You know, they say, oh, it's not really about Trump. It's about the ideas. It's about the this. It's about Trump, actually. It turns out it's about Trump. So then the question is, who runs the GOP when Trump is gone? Is it the vice president, Vance? Could be. He's probably the leading contender. He's doing a great job. It could be him. Could it be Rubio? Clearly wants to run for president. Is it Rubio? Is it a governor like DeSantis? Probably not, but I get maybe. But who is it? Is it a talking head? Those of us in conservative media on the right, the media have more of an outsized role in the party itself than in the Democrats. And Democrats are a little more orderly. They have their media over here, they have their operatives over here, they have their politicians over here, they have their activists over here, where it's a little more blurry. Who runs the GOP after Trump is gone, after he's done with the second term? And I think the real answer is going to be Trump. As long as he's involved, he's going to run the GOP. It's going to be a little bit like Reagan. Unfortunately, Reagan didn't get to extend his influence much after he left office because he was diagnosed with Alzheimer's disease. Had he not been, he would have been running the GOP through the 1990s, for sure. Because Reagan was transformative in the GOP, just as Trump is transformative. Who runs it now? Trump. Who's going to run it later? Probably still Trump. Now, speaking of the future of the MAGA movement, and the man who at this moment looks like the heir apparent, Vice President Vance, JD had the funniest reply the other day. It was like a few days ago to Gavin Newsom. I have to get to it because this now tells you something about the 2028 Democrat primary. JD goes to Disneyland in California. Takes his family. That's nice. There's some clips of it. Looks fine. And Newsom responds. He goes, "Hope you enjoy your family time, JD Vance. The families you're tearing apart certainly won't." And Vance responds, and he goes, "Had a great time. Thanks." The perfect response. Evidence that the vice president is a man who is adept in real life. He can talk to donors, he can talk to older people, the cable news audience, he can talk, but he's pretty online too. Had a great time. This is how you answer that. You're so bad. I hope you had a good time. Yeah, I had a great time. Thanks, buddy. Anyway, moving on. This is what we do. This is what we do now. This is not what we did 10 years ago. This is what we do now. You're a racist. Okay. You're a sexist and a phobe and a... Oh. Got it. Okay, I'll make a note of that. I'm those things, I guess. Okay. Cool. Not even Gavin Newsom is trying to launch his presidential campaign by being like the American right 10 years ago. He's not like the American right today. He's a little behind. Used to be, talk about a flip actually of the parties. Used to be the Republicans were always just trying to do the Democrat tactics from 10 years ago. They were just playing catch up. And now it's the flip. Now it's the Democrats who are doing the catch up tactics on the right. So Gavin Newsom, he says, wow, the American right's been successful over the last 10 years. I'm going to do what they did in 2015. I'm going to start a podcast. I'm going to become a debate me bro. I'm going to demand that but I'll tell you what, in this little internet, I'm going to be catty online. I'm going to call people cuck. His media outfit was calling Stephen Miller a cuck. A cuck is a funny insult. The Italians have been using it for centuries. Cornuto, cuckold. But the American right has adopted this in recent years. But even still, it's like 10 years ago. Bro, come on. Not going to work. Vance just totally wrecked him on this. And nevertheless, though, Newsom is signaling right now, he's probably the head of the pack for the Democrats. All right, everybody, real quick. We are celebrating a decade of the Daily Wire, 10 years of fighting the culture war and building something real. How are we celebrating? We're growing fast. More members, more shows, new voices like Isabel Brown, new documentaries like Journey to the UFC, the Joe Pfeiffer story premiering Friday, July 25th. Not just a fight doc, a blueprint for becoming unstoppable. From nothing to UFC stardom, through trauma, pain, no excuses, the kind of story this culture needs. And we are proud to tell it. Our members get it all. They get it all first, too. The announcements, the first looks, the full truth. No censorship or hidden agenda, just common sense. And a community that has it. Don't sit this out. Celebrate a decade of the Daily Wire. Go to dailywireplus.com and join today. My favorite comment yesterday is from Christina Ramirez, 7895, who says, Elmo is a perfect example of why 3-year-olds should not have social media. Great point. Wow, great point. Because some people say 3-year-olds shouldn't have social media because they're going to get addicted to the screens. Yeah, that's true. or kids shouldn't have social media because they might look at something naughty, really violent or sexual porn or something. But the other reason, and Elmo shows this, is you don't want your 3-year-old to become a Nazi. That's a real threat. Hey, buddy, what do you want for dinner tonight? I want the blood of my enemies is what I want. Okay. All right. Now, Newsom is the leading candidate. I don't know if you know that. And he is running for president. This is not mere idle speculation now, because Newsom is swinging through South Carolina. You know, those early states that really matter: Iowa, New Hampshire, South Carolina, Nevada, some other states. But South Carolina is a really big one. It's going to be really important for the Democrats in particular. Well, who went through? Tim Walz went through. Remember him? Tim Walz, the Tim Kaine of 3 years ago. I don't know. He only ran a year ago. But he's so yesterday's news that we forget about that. Tim Walz, I guess he wants to run for president. He ran through South Carolina. Wes Moore? Who's Wes Moore? I guess he's the governor of Maryland. Do you even... It's my job to know about these people. I don't know anything about him. So he's kind of a joker. And then you had Gavin Newsom. Gavin Newsom comes through, and these are the first 3 candidates, I guess you'd say, in the race. Newsom is leading the pack right now. I wonder, though, if Newsom has staying power. Because the problem for Newsom is the problem for the Democrat Party. He doesn't know who he is. Is he the super progressive mayor of San Francisco who's officiating gay weddings when it's illegal? Is that him? Is he the guy who's participating in assisted suicide? He's so progressive. Is he that guy? Or is he just a rich white guy who goes to the French Laundry and, marries beautiful women? He's kind of Bill Clinton. And he's, hey, honey, listen, I feel your pain. I'm going to be friends with Charlie Kirk and Steve Bannon. I'm going to, look at my hair. Which is he? He's trying to be both right now, and it's schizophrenic. And the reason he's trying to be both is a deeper problem, which is that the Democrats don't know what they want to be. Do they want to be the party of normal? We're the normal ones, not like this crazy Trump. Or do they want to be the globalize the intifada, trans all the kids, open up all the borders, that party? What do they want to be? They don't know. They have no idea. With the parties flipping, the Democrats, it's like they got caught in the middle. So they don't. Are Democrats the party of blue-collar workers, or are they the party of Wall Street? Right now, they're kind of both and neither. Are they the party of bombing the Middle East, or are they the party of restraint and peace? They're kind of both and neither right now. They have no idea. Are they the party of Israel or the party of Palestine? They're kind of both and neither right now. They don't know what they are. So it's so early. You could be in a situation, this happens a lot on the Republican side too, where the candidate who's really leading in the beginning, he might be the very first one out of the race. Newsom right now doesn't. He's got to figure something out. Now, what the New York Times wants the Democrats to be, because I think the New York Times recognizes the woke stuff has really turned a lot of people off. The trans stuff turned a lot of people off. The nastiness, the vindictiveness really turned a lot of people off. So I think they want the party to be more the party of Bill Clinton. I think that's where they see the future. And they have a really, really funny article. Do we have it? Do I have my article? You didn't even give me my article. This is so outrageous. New York Times has an opinion headline that it's time to stop snubbing your right-wing family members. It is time to stop snubbing your right-wing. The New York Times, which called on its people to, either lecture and hector your conservative uncle at Thanksgiving or just to dissociate from them altogether. Now maybe it's time we can deign to speak to those family members. Maybe. Okay. I don't know if I've ever said this explicitly, because I'm not the sort of break up families for politics guy. The right generally is not the break up families for politics kind of party. But let me just, if for any liberals, I know liberals listen to this show, for the liberals who are listening, or maybe I'll speak to my family again. I don't know. I mean, I'm going to have to be a very big man to speak to my family again. I mean, my cousin voted for Trump. Can you imagine? And maybe, because I'm so magnanimous, maybe I'll go speak to him again. Let me just tell you from our perspective. if you're a conservative, you look out at your family, you love your family, and you realize some members of your family, the ones who voted for Kamala Harris and Joe Biden, those members of our family support the murder and dismemberment of babies. That's if we really think about it, that's the fact that we have to understand about you. You, our family members who are liberal, support the murder and dismemberment of innocent little babies screaming out in pain while your representatives do that. And we still love you. And we still come to Thanksgiving. And we recognize that you probably don't even know what you're supporting. Or if you do know it, you try your best to deny it. Forgive them, Lord, they know not what they do. That's what it takes for us to go to Thanksgiving. Okay? And we do it. I don't give it a second thought. Because I understand this is a fallen world and people fall prey to all manner of ignorance and wickedness and vice and delusion. And so I really don't think about it. We don't actively judge our family members for, we don't harbor any kind of hostility, but those are the facts. And so it's kind of rich when our liberal family members, led around by groups like the New York Times, come out and they say, well, you think we should deport MS-13, and I just don't know if I can have a turkey leg with you. Really? Seriously? You want to play this game? You want to play this game right now? And we don't even, because it's good to cultivate the habit of patience. We don't even, but come on. Well, thank you, New York Times. Thank you for giving permission to your liberal readers to show up to Christmas dinner. Thanks. Let's just move on. How about that? How about that? Because, by the way, the only reason the New York Times and the libs are doing it is because they realize that this strategy of ostracism and stigmatization doesn't work. It's not working electorally. They got blown out of the water and they lost the popular vote. So it's not even that they've had a real proper change of heart. They just realize their strategy isn't working. Okay, I have a bit of a personal request before we get to the membrum segmentum. This is, as speaking of young people, actually, I know some people, you look for good charitable causes. And I do too. If you're like anything like me, you wait until the very end of the year. It's 10 p.m. on New Year's Eve. And you say, I want to give some money to charity this year, but I haven't. And sometimes you actually say, I don't even know what to give my money to. I have a great thing to give your money to. There is a terrible disease that afflicts a lot of kids. And it's called, I don't even remember the name, it's Charcot-Marie Tooth disease. It's this degenerative disease that affects a lot of kids. It can put them into wheelchairs. It can cause all sorts of problems down the line for them. And a scientist seems to think that he's come up with a cure for this. And it's very, very promising, but it requires some money to get to clinical trials. The only reason I really even recognized this issue, that it even came to my attention, is very close friends of mine have a kid who was diagnosed with this rare condition, but a condition that affects a lot of kids. And then I started looking into the issue more broadly. There are a lot of diseases, not just this one, but a lot of diseases where scientists seem like they've found a cure. And the parents know about this. But the problem is it just takes so much money to advance to a clinical trial and then go through all the processes that sometimes you have kids with the disease and you have a cure, but you can't get the cure to the kids because you can't raise some money. So anyway, my friends have been raising money on behalf of this medical research organization, Charcot-Marie Tooth Association, and they've raised a ton of money. They've raised almost all of it. $1.7 million, $1.8 million, something like that. They just need a little bit more to get over the hump. And so anyway, I looked at the numbers on this. I'm kind of irritated that it's been so hard to raise the money for this because I realized even just for my show, if every person who watches and listens to my show gave less than $1, the money would be raised. This would be off to the clinical trial. And a lot of kids potentially could avoid really crippling ailments into their teenagers. The cure could stop the disease in its tracks. The faster they get it, the better it is. So anyway, if you're looking, I know people are tight. It's a tough economy. People have other charitable commitments. But if you're looking to give a little bit of money, I would say go to justgiving.com/page/cure for George. That's justgiving.com/page/cure for George. Give less than $1. If all of you do it, we're off to the races. And if you want to give more than $1, $10, $100, $1,000, maybe $10,000, some of you are pretty rich. That would be really great and greatly appreciated. So there's so many good causes out there. But if you're like me, you get to the end of the year, you say, I don't even know. So anyway, I'm pleased to give you the opportunity to know about this great cause, and I appreciate your generosity in that. Okay, today is Woke Wednesday. The rest of the show continues now. You do not want to miss it. Become a member. Use code Knowles, KNWLES at checkout for 2 months free on all annual plans.